Okay, everybody, we're going to get started. Thank you so much. Susan is going to be here to share about food as medicine and also the Schumann Resonance, which is amazing. Thank you so much.
So my name is Susan Keiffer, and I am a master herbalist locally in Sebastian. I've been doing herbal medicine for 20 years, and as well as iridology. I take pictures of the eyes, and you can see all the organs and tissues in the body. So I study the microcosm as well as the macrocosm, which is what this presentation is about. And one thing I want to ask, first of all, is how many people are new this year to this conference? Yeah, it seemed like there was a lot of new people. Okay, so a couple other questions. How many people have heard of the Schumann Resonance? Okay, you know what it is, the people who have heard of it. Okay, because I get that, you know, when I bring it up, no one has heard of it. That's why I want to talk about it, because it's really important and it's really exciting and it's really affecting our bodies right now. And you might have no idea this is what is making you feel different ways. And that's what my presentation is going to go over. But first I'm going to give you some background about it. My last question is, how many people have heard of star seeds or know of any people who call themselves star seeds? Okay. All right, cool. Awesome. So I'm actually giving this presentation again in Connecticut next month, and a lot of them are very advanced with the star seed community up there. So I have this presentation broken into two parts, and I'll see how long it takes me to get through it. One thing I want to just start out with is a quote from the Hopi prophecy that says, "When the earth is ravaged and the animals are dying, a new tribe will come upon the earth, and these people will be known as the Rainbow Warriors." How many people have heard that? Okay, so I actually consider this group and people who come to Kashi and do these permaculture things as that tribe of new people. It's emotional, but here to take care of the earth and prepare it for its new phase, which it's definitely going into. How many people are aware of that the earth is going into a new phase? Okay. Are you aware that it's like the fifth dimension? Okay, good. All right. So I just want to know how advanced you are, because I ask these questions and people, it goes over their heads. So anyway, so let's get started then. You sound pretty advanced. All right, so my presentation is called Recent Earth Changes and How We Are Being Affected, and I wasn't sure how loud this was going to be, so I had moved it over. All right, so these are questions we're going to address here is, what is the Schumann Resonance? How are its measurements affecting us? What is behind climate change? And is it really too late? People recently have been saying to me, asking me that, is it really too late? You know how there's this whole thing about 2030 and this next decade, which I have to say, you know, all of that is true, but it's not for the reasons they think it is. But 2020 to 2030, this next decade, is definitely lights out for a lot of people. It is the time when there's going to be a splitting of the earth into who's eating sustainably and taking care of the earth and who just is not doing any of that. And what I say is, if you don't want to change what you're eating, the food itself is designed that it will kill you. That's what I say. The food itself will kill you. So then it's kind of like, well, who cares then? Don't change. You know, but cancer is going to triple, Alzheimer's is going to triple in this next decade, obesity is going to triple, diabetes is going to triple, and cancer is already 1 in 2. So, you know, they're building hospitals in advance in Connecticut in expectation of this surge of, you know, because I have another presentation on YouTube called Sustainability is the Earth Dying, which was a title that my son came up with because I was saying, what do you think about this? You know, all this seagrass is 97% gone, and all these habitats, 97, you know, this was like 10 years ago. But he just said to me, and he was like 10, he said, the earth is dying. And I used to do a lot of things, you know, to promote awareness of that. Now it's shifted. It's shifted for me. I don't talk really about that anymore. I'm giving you my background, but I don't talk about that anymore because it doesn't matter anymore. What the new way of looking at this is, the earth is splitting, the earth is ascending, And the old Earth, it's okay that it's going to stay in the third dimension, and those people on the third dimension are going to stay living on it the way they choose to. It's their path, it's their choice, it's free will. But there is a new level coming for those who are open to it. And part of this Schumann resonance stuff is that their energy waves, it's a frequency that's being measured by the Schumann resonance. It's not that the Schumann resonance is doing anything or originating anything, but that is how the physical evidence is there, that it's the measurements are actually doing a whole lot, which I'm going to continue to share with you. But basically what it is, it's the Earth's own heartbeat. It's the Earth's electromagnetic field that goes around the Earth, which we entrain to. Our bodies, our hearts, our minds entrain to whatever is happening to the Earth. You're going to experience it, whether you realize why that's happening or not. And something is happening to the Earth. This isn't coming from the Earth. This is coming from outside of the Earth and affecting the Earth, and then, of course, affecting you. But the star of this is the Earth. It's not us. It's the Earth. So it's measured by lightning and how much excitation is happening with lightning. So here's a picture showing you the field of the Schumann resonance and where the measurements are coming from. And for thousands of years, that Schumann resonance frequency was always a constant 7.83 hertz. It never changed. It was so constant that the military used it in their equations when they were making new equipment. I mean, they just thought it was a constant. They never thought it was a variable. For thousands of years, it never changed. So again, when I start talking about this with people, they're always like, I don't want to hear anything negative, and they don't understand it at all. They think when I'm talking about this electricity and these energy waves that are impacting us physically, they think it's negative. But what this is saying, what the Schumann resonance is not, 5G, which we're entering into technology, Wi-Fi, is not the same as 5D, which is fifth dimension. And a lot of people are getting that mixed up. That is totally, totally different. 5G is ultra cancer causing, which, by the way, in the eye pictures I take, I see almost everyone has that potential beginning in their connective tissue system in their body, almost 100%. And it either starts out as a faded sign, or depending on if they wear a Bluetooth, it's a deep purple versus even just red. It's like so chronic that it's purple. So I ask people, what are you doing to protect yourself against that? But that's another topic. So this is not that. This is not 5G, which again, with the cell towers, they're going to have to build so much closer together, but leaves and trees are what protect you from that. So hopefully your residences have a lot of trees and leaves because it cannot go through the leaves. So they've actually had to cut down tops of trees, in preparation for the signal to be able to go through. So your protection is being surrounded in nature. Nature is always your protection. Nature is what restores your health. Nature is where you get those beneficial brain wavelengths. So again, the Schumann resonance, what that's recording is what we've been waiting for. It is very positive and very beneficial, yet it's going to be very disruptive while we're getting used to it. Okay, so where are these frequency waves coming from, and what exactly are they? And again, in making this presentation, I was like, well, are these people going to understand? Because it's going to get a little technical. But I did have help. I do have help. I have guidance that's involved in this whole process. And they're like, they will get it. Don't worry about that. Okay. So how do they benefit us exactly? Has anyone here heard of the photon belt? Raise your hand if you've heard of the photon belt. Okay, nobody. Okay, 2 people maybe. All right, so back in the 90s, and maybe you guys weren't born yet, I don't know. But in the 90s, it started in 1987. It started in 1961. In 1961 is when NASA first became aware of this donut-shaped photon band that was orbiting in the galaxy. And we, as a solar system, rotate this way. The donut band was rotating this way, and we approach this photon band, which is high frequency light particles. That's what photons are. And in 1987 was the first time, which they called the harmonic convergence, that we actually clipped into it, like the Earth itself, in our rotating solar system. The Earth clipped into it for 2 weeks in 1987. So sometimes you can, some of these dates you can think back if you remember what you were doing then, or if you were born or not, but anyway. And in 1998, in June of 1998, is when the sun itself crossed this plane of the photon belt, because we're rotating. So every year we went 2 weeks further into it, 1 week further in, 1 week further out, and by 1998 the sun itself was permanently in it and then had crossed that plane. It took us until December 21st, 2012 for our solar system to fully enter it, where Earth was now in it 100% of the time. And this is the big deal of the Mayan calendar, if you're familiar with that. So ETs refer to this photon belt as a planetary troubleshooter to be used in a situation where the planet is so much in trouble it's going to need a boost, or it's not going to get to where it needs to go. And a bigger story on this is that all of the planets in our solar system are ascending and have ascended, and Earth is the last one that they're waiting for. So Earth is now very much, this is occurring, and again I'm going to prove this to you. So here's a little cartoon. Long story short, they forgot they were all brothers and sisters cohabitating the same planet, so they kind of became delusional and imagined these invisible borders, beliefs, and structures separating them, and started destroying each other and the Earth they live on, instead of just living, sharing, creating, and evolving together. This is what our planet looks like from space. And believe me, we have a lot of observers. Nothing has ever happened like this before. This is unprecedented, this ascension process which the Earth is going through. So, to give you the big picture, with cycles of creation, our Earth rotates around our sun. That takes 365 days. Our sun rotates around in our solar system, rotates around another sun called Alcyone, which is in the Pleiades constellation. And then that takes 26,000 years. That's what's known as the precession of the equinoxes. And each zodiac sign takes 2,000 years. So there's 12. So there's 24, but then there's another 2,000-year period, which I'll show you. And then that solar system with Alcyone in it rotates around an even bigger galactic core of our Milky Way. And one revolution of that takes 225 million years. And that is what the cycle that was just completed on December 21st, 2012, when everyone was like, oh, nothing happened, we're all still here. That's when we first entered this photon band. Those 3 huge cycles were just completed, and that is hugely significant. So, I think I'm just gonna, there's a period of light as we enter into this photon belt for 2,000 years. It's 2,000 years wide, and then we rotate back out for 12,000 years, and that's when we go back into darkness, and then on the other side there's the light, and then we go into the light, and then again we go back into darkness. So you know how they say the dark ages and all that, when like things were destroyed and people had to start all over again with technology. I mean, one of the famous stories is Atlantis being submerged, you know, so that was technically 12,000 years ago, the last time we were on this cycle. Okay, so here's kind of an illustration of the photon belt, that donut-shaped thing. And inside the center, as I said, is Alcyone, which is the sun of the Pleiades system. Our solar system is on the left corner there at the bottom, and we spiral into it. There's 2,000 years of light, and then again, it's a cycle. But the photon band particles, by the way, are 4th dimensional frequencies. And on the other side, when we get through it, is the 5th dimension, which is what our goal on Earth is, to enter the 5th dimension, which is heaven, but there's actually more dimensions above that. But these waves of being in the photon belt, as we were cycling into it, periodically, you might have noticed, for instance, just in 2009, 10 years ago, we did not have organic food in the supermarkets. Because I was in charge of the CSA in Vero Beach, White Rabbit, which was the first one in this area. And I used to teach people how to grow organic food. I used to have an organic co-op. I mean, we had to travel 100 miles to get organic food from Wild Oats or Whole Foods, or they didn't have it. It was not in Publix. So this is just showing you that we have evolved. We have so many great choices now with the foods we can choose to eat. And at the same time, we have so many choices of foods that are delicious, but really harmful for us. And people have to choose. Are you going to go for what your mouth wants, that you know isn't going to make you feel good? And it's not that the stuff that makes you feel good doesn't taste good, because that is also super delicious. You just got to decide which way are you going to do it, because whatever food you're eating is what's going to attract the microorganisms that live in your body. And we have 10 trillion human cells, but 100 trillion non-human bacteria cells that, depending on what you're eating, there's a bacteria that will eat anything. There's a bacteria that will eat, oil in the Gulf of Mexico, or thrive on acidic battery acid. Depending on what you're eating is what you have growing in there. So when you change over and eat more healthy, a lot of times you have cravings, but really what that is those are those bacteria complaining and screaming that you're starving them of their food that they're used to eating. And you think that's you saying, oh no, I really, really want this pizza or ice cream or whatever. But it's them saying, wait a minute, where's our cheese? Where's our dairy? Where's our sugar? You can't just cut us off like that, because that's what you're doing. You starve them and they die, and then you get the new population, the beneficial ones you want in there. But it takes some time. Okay, so this part is all technical, but I just put some things in about how it is accelerating the rate of human consciousness evolution as well. That's why so many things, even just 10 years ago. Even when President Obama was president, we didn't even have cell phones. We didn't have smartphones then. And you take it for granted now, but that's only in the last 10 years. Where now people are like, oh, I can't live with my cell phone, yet that very cell phone is what's causing those connective tissue cancers that I'm seeing. Don't have it on your body. Don't have it touching you. Keep it in a separate purse or something. If you have, they have jewelry you can wear. They have shungite you can put on your phone. They have these house protectors for all this Wi-Fi, which part of this talk I'm going to be talking about, like the Pleiadians. They call that we fry. What we call Wi-Fi, they call we fry, because they're saying we're frying ourselves with the radiation from technology. And you can choose, are you going to be more in nature, or are you going to be like savvy with your computer and technology and think that's the cutting edge. It's not. You're going in the wrong direction. You need to get back to not caring about what the world is doing. Yes, I know we have internet and all that, and we can't do away with that. So again, though, this photonic energy is the highest form of light known. It's called the supraconscious intelligence. It's actually written about in the 2,000-year-old Gnostic text that they found, the Nag Hammadi in Egypt in 1945. They were aware of this intelligence, light, because this is old information. So what does all this mean for planet Earth? Because of completing this grand cycle, the 225 million year cycle, there is now occurring a significant increase in the resonance of the Schumann resonance, which initially in 2012, was 7.83. I was giving talks about this back then, because it was starting to move. It had gone to like 10 or 11, and we were like, oh my God, the Schumann resonance is spiking at 10 or 11, and people were predicting if it goes to 13, the Earth is going to stop spinning and reverse its spin. If it goes to 13, that's what they were saying back then. And it's named after Winifred Otto Schumann, who was a physicist who mathematically predicted it in 1952. So that's where the name comes from. So there's leading experts of both physics and the Mayan calendar that are saying and predicting our DNA is going to be affected. Our DNA is going to be upgraded from this just being in the presence of this high photonic energy. And again, I'm going to describe some symptoms that you might not have thought was related to this, but I'm going to prove to you it is. So this is called the Earth's heartbeat, and I mentioned already that it's such a constant, the global military used it. It actually makes you feel like time is speeding up. It shortens the day by at least 8 hours because the frequency is vibration, and if you're into quantum physics, you know that there's no such thing as solid matter. They've proven that even a table that you can touch and feel is really nothing more than energy, just vibrating at a slower vibration. At the subatomic level, when they've gone down as low as they could with the tiniest molecules, there's nothing there. There's no matter. It's just energy. And so things that feel like they're vibrating faster, and this is why Jesus was able to walk through walls, because he was vibrating faster than the density of the walls, or walk on water because he was vibrating at a faster frequency. And you can only see things that are vibrating lower than you. You can't see anything vibrating higher. So we have dimensions upon dimensions all in the same space, but we can only see what's lower than us. And the people who end up being affected by this frequency and raising vibrations, which food can help you do, eating high quality foods, eventually there's this thing called the event everyone is talking about. And this is what they're also calling the ascension, which in every religion there's a word for it. The Catholics or the Bible calls it the rapture. Okay, where they say one person will be working in a field and one person won't. One person will be in their car driving. I don't know if they talked about cars then, but and they say one person won't. It's not that that person's gone. It's just that the analogy is this. If you had your whole house lit up with Christmas lights, your yard, your house, and everything plugged into one outlet, which that outlet is you. We are electrical beings of just energy. If everything plugged into that one outlet, but that outlet was dirty or corroded, and you had all the lights connected to just one plug, what would happen if you plugged it in? Either it would short circuit, or potentially blow a fuse, or even explode, right? But if that was a clean outlet, like shiny, brand new, highly capable of handling all this high wattage, what would happen? You would plug your lights in, and everything would light up all at once. And this was the analogy I was given like 15 years ago to start helping people clean toxins out of their body so that you don't have this corrosion interference happening, so that you are sparkling clean and ready for this energy, which is occurring right now in waves. We get bursts of it. So you might, and again, I'll tell you the symptoms, but you might get the burst and then you're just like, fried from that, and then you get the recovery period. So they're preparing your body in waves and bursts, but then they give you a recovery. But ultimately, it's like a tsunami light up situation, and that's what we're heading towards. And again, the Hopis have this prophecy with this blue star Kachina, which I'm going to get into some of the Hopi prophecies, and there's pictures of that. People have taken photographs of that, seen right now in our skies. It's a light blue color. It matches the sky, so you can't see it. So all of this is about alignment too, with the sun, the second sun in the Pleiades, and then the central sun and the greater central sun, and Earth is itself becoming a sun. That's what this is about. Earth's ascension is coming from a 3D to a 5D sun. Which originally, it was at a higher dimension, like who knows how long ago that was, but every solar system has a binary twin sun. And that's a physics fact. So what happened in the story is, and this is a long story, but Earth volunteered actually to help people who were not going to make this shift by taking on, that's why we have such a huge population happening now, because everyone who wasn't going to, have another second chance is all on Earth now at the same time. So it lost its binary twin sun in the story, and it was separated. And The twin sun has now returned though, and again, there's people photographing this. Has anyone seen the second sun? Okay, I have pictures. So all of this is an acceleration. You know, as molecules vibrate faster, they generate heat, they speed things up. You know, like a rocket getting ready to launch. You know, you have to get the engine running to get that power to launch. And this description I just gave you is what the Schumann resonance is measuring and recording. So as I mentioned, we have entered the photon belt. One of the stargates near the great central sun is opened, and that's actually where this high frequency energy is coming from and being directed at Earth. And you know, yes, everyone knows or should know there are stargates in real life, not just on Star Trek, and wormholes and black holes, and every galaxy has a black hole at its center. This is an example of how you could bend space and time and, you know, go from one dimension to another just in a short amount of time and short amount of space. So even Stephen Hawking said, yes, if true, it poses a significant challenge to his theories, which I do have his books, but that re-evaluation is what makes science an effective tool. Assuming you know everything, like in, I think, the early 1900s, there was a quote after the telephone was invented by Alexander Graham Bell. He said, everything that could be invented has now been invented. So this is a real image from the Hubble telescope in 2015 showing at least 100 billion other galaxies. And you know, our galaxy is immense, just our own galaxy, the Milky Way galaxy, but imagine that there's 100 billion other galaxies, and each galaxy has millions of suns in them. So again, we're going into the macro here, but don't assume that we are all the life that there is in the world, or in the universe, I should say. And there's actually more than one universe. So the Schumann resonance, as I said, entrains with our brains to match the Earth's heartbeat. And these are the different wavelengths. The lower ones, like delta, you know, that's when you're unconscious, practically very deep sleep. Theta is when you're between awake and sleep. Alpha, higher frequency, you're relaxed, daydreaming. Beta is when you're very alert, busy thinking, probably multitasking in your brain. And then there's gamma, which this is what a lot of this is gamma wavelengths that the Schumann resonance is recording, which is heightened perception. You know, has anyone ever heard that we only use 5% of each half of our brain? And that dolphins and whales use 100% of both halves of their brain? We only use 5%. So we can't see, of course, all the spectrums, you know, in light. I mean, we're very, like, you know, antiquated, really, but we're about to get these abilities back. And this little chart here, I'm just trying to show you how wavelengths, you know, they can, when they're slower, they're spread out, and as they get faster, like the lower gamma ones, they're very tight together. So the big thing about Egypt, you know, they had the Eye of Horus. I don't know if anyone's realized that's really just a depiction of the pineal gland in the brain. If you did a cross section of the brain, it's the Eye of Horus. And the pineal gland, the one picture with the statue, is in front of the Vatican. They have that pine cone-shaped statue, which is a carbon-based thing. It has been, but it is about to become crystalline, and they have seen this in surgery, that we are getting crystallization back in our pineal glands. I have this in here, and I'm not exactly sure why, but sometimes hallucinogenics, you know, will open up your brain and your consciousness, like the ayahuasca and all those things, and this is just showing you that it really does, you know, of course I'm not recommending this or anything, but it does do things. Let's just leave it at that. This has been known that the pineal gland is actually our little antenna. It's an antenna in our brains that is receiving this energy. So Einstein's saying that the intuitive mind is a sacred gift and the rational mind is a faithful servant, where we have created a society that honors just the servant and has forgotten the gift. For those people doubting what I'm saying. So the pineal gland can be activated by gamma wave technology. Again, this is what the Schumann Resonance is measuring. There's actually CDs that they were selling, you know, about the higher wavelengths that you could put on just to get your brain into a state where you could focus better, you know, concentrate better, you know, so those are the frequencies. And our heart is also being entrained with this. There's a connection between the heart and the brain and emotions, and they actually call the heart the real brain in our bodies. It has its own intelligence, it has memory, as you know, I'm sure. You can remember when someone has hurt you or a situation has been really painful. The heart knows. The heart will actually respond sooner than your brain. If you're with someone and you have no rational explanation, but you know, your heart is just like beating really fast in a negative way, or you know, you just feel constricted, let's call it. You know, it's kind of giving you a warning, like you're in my space and I'm not really sure we're resonating. You know, all those expressions of we're not on the same wavelength. You know, there's a bunch of them. We're not on the same frequency. Good vibrations. You know, we don't vibe. You know, all that is frequency vibrations. So, as I said, whatever's happening to the earth is happening to us. We are little receivers. We're receivers on the earth for this energy, which the earth needed assistance to do this. That's why the starseeds volunteered to be here, because they were the receivers. Without them, this couldn't be happening. So, what exactly is happening? Okay, remember I told you it was 7.83 for thousands of years? In February, I personally started feeling this vibration, like especially at night, just laying in bed, and it wasn't like you would see my hands doing anything, but internal vibration, tremoring. Has anybody experienced that at night? Okay. So I was like, you know, I had given this talk like in 2012, and I hadn't thought about it again, and then when that happened, suddenly I was like, is this about the Schumann Resonance? And I had to go look. Like, you know, no, everyone gave up on it. Oh, it's going to be 11, 12, 13. That's what they were saying back then. Remember, that was what was the high peak we thought, 13. That's going to be the end of it. It spiked to 150 hertz on St. Patrick's Day this year. This 2019 has been a transformational year of getting people's bodies physically prepared for this. And the Schumann Resonance shows this as that big whiteout. And then on the bottom graph, I'll show you how many hertz there are. And this is how I actually do this on my Facebook all the time with other people. You know, I'll continue. So here's some other ones when it was very high, but never as high as that 150. This one is an 84 hertz spike, because it's rare. It's rare when we get these huge ones. We get a lot of ones that are in the 40s, 50s, 60s this year, which is outrageously high. But now you get spoiled because you have the 150, so you're always looking for what's going to top that. This one was 84 hertz, and again, look at that big whiteout. Like, this isn't psychedelic anything. This is physical, scientific measurements. Here's another highlight one. This was a 99 spike in September 19th. If any of you have any awareness of what you were possibly doing that day, maybe if you keep a calendar, go back and look at what happened to you that day. And this is actually today. So the far right, there's 3 days that are displayed here. So the far right is the most current, and there's that little black strip because it hasn't finished recording today. But today, see, we have some activity. The last 3 days, we have some white activity. And sometimes even if it is only in the 20s or 30s, you still feel that pretty intensely. Today is at a 41. 41 is, you know, it's really high, really. You just get spoiled when it goes to 99 and all those. So it's having a greater impact on life on Earth than you might have imagined. We are electromagnetic beings, as I said, and this is electrical frequency. How clean you are, including emotions, toxic emotions, drama, relationships with drama that you're arguing, that, you know, you just are like, you're giving me a headache, you know, leave me alone, you know, all those kinds of things. Like, seriously, work on getting away from negative situations so that you can be a clean vessel. And here's a picture. I'm not sure if this is real or not, but I thought it was pretty cool. And this is what the Pleiades, you can see this with the naked eye. Has anyone seen the Pleiades constellation? It looks like a little kite, like a little diamond up there. Again, the Pleiades is what our solar system rotates around. That's where Alcyone, the sun, is, and we rotate around that Pleiades system. So since we've entered this photon belt, initially there was like nothing. Like I said, for 10 years it was like everyone forgot about it. But this year, 2019, we have been spiking like crazy. There are predictions that in the spring of 2020, these are predictions that potentially this big event wave is going to hit in the spring of 2020, and not everyone's going to notice it. A lot of people that are very dense, low vibration, they're just not going to penetrate. They're just not going to be aware of it. And that's okay. Everyone has their timing. Everyone will get there eventually. So ultimately, this is how the energies would make you feel. Lighter than air, free, flexible, happy, ecstatic, ultimately a state of bliss, ultimately heaven, ultimately fifth dimension. Remember that group, Fifth Dimension, singing about the age of Aquarius? This is the dawning of the age of Aquarius. This is what they were singing about. The 60s was the first wave to actually start being affected by this. All the flower children, peace, love, all that, that was the first wave. But they used a lot of drugs to get there. You know, they had to get high and use hallucinogenics. We don't have to do that anymore today. Today, you know what our drug is? Is the food. The high vibrating food is our drug today naturally. So while we're adjusting, it could feel like this. You could be sweating, having hot sweats, night sweats, feel that shaking, a racing heart. It's electrical, don't forget. You could feel nauseous, dizzy, have aches, pains, muscle tension, and just feel like you can't handle society, like you need to be by yourself. And again, you might not have known why this was happening, but I challenge you on those days when you're just like, something is weird and off today, go look at the Schumann Resonance and see if it's doing a little spike. Especially if you haven't cleared out the toxins. And I'm going to share some of that with you. And the emotions, don't forget. Emotions. Deal with your karma. Deal with people that you're holding resentment onto. It doesn't mean you have to have a relationship with them, but in your own self, do your forgiveness and let go of that, because you've got to leave that behind or you're going to be stuck with it. So here's some other ascension symptoms. Extreme fatigue. It can definitely wipe you out. Nowadays, because we've been having these spikes that have been getting us ready, we keep having a spike and then it goes away, having a spike and then we have our recovery. Now, when it's flat and normal, it can just make you feel like gravity is just so heavy on the earth and you can't even get out of bed or get motivated to do anything. It can lay you down so deeply where, and it's not even a good restful sleep, it's just an exhaustion because you're used to now a higher frequency hitting you and that's becoming your norm. And when it's normal now, it just is so, you're just like, what's the Schumann resonance doing? This is what I do. I look at it. Oh, it's flat today. No wonder. So in the Bible, Jesus has some quotes I'm going to go through real quick. One of them is, a lot of times in churches, I've been in churches where I've tried to teach raw food classes, so they don't always bring in the donuts and the coffees and the crumb cake. And I brought in wonderful raw food desserts, and they still bring in the coffee and the donuts on those days. This was, 15 years ago I was trying to teach them. And they would all have their prayer circles complaining about who was sick, and let's pray for them, this person's this. And I'd be like, if you just stopped eating what you're eating, you can work on that and not have to just pray. It wasn't ever just prayer. It was prayer and fasting. It was always prayer and fasting. It was both, not just praying you're going to be well. You actually have to do something about that. You have to take action. So again, when it's spiking, you might feel like you can't sleep, like your nighttime, you're just like, you just can't fall asleep. And you're up till 2 or 3 in the morning, and you're like, what is going on? I'm so tired. Why can't I sleep? Well, look at the Schumann resonance. It's probably spiking. You can also feel like this, like all of a sudden you've got 100 things to do in one day, and you're just very high energy, though, getting things done. And then you go look, and it's weird how it lines up with your schedule of a busy, active day. But when it's flat and normal, there goes your energy. You're back to just like lying down, where you can't get out of bed, like I said. So again, just look at it, look it up. There's a link, Russian. We don't have this link in the United States, by the way. They're not showing us this. This is a Russian website. So how to clean your circuitry. There are more electrical impulses generated in one day in a single human brain than by all the phones in the world. And if your brain has brain fog, too much toxins, too much heavy metals, too much medication building up in a lot of cases, that has to be cleaned out. You can get your spark plugs clean again by having more vegetarian, more raw foods with the living enzymes, more liquefied foods so that it's easier for your bodies to digest. Every year that you are, if you're 50 years old, 50% of your food should be liquefied in the blender or juicer. You should not be eating chewing foods. If you're 70 years old, 70% of your food should be liquids. Our intestines are not designed to take on a whole pizza like they could when you were 15 years old anymore. That doesn't work anymore. So if you want to have a lighter light body, that's what we're heading into now. This is a higher frequency physics. It's just physics. It's not judgment. You need more fresh vegetable juices, more liquids, more fruit. Fruit is the glucose that is going to give your energy the way to convert to ATP, if you remember your Krebs cycle from biology. It's not caffeine. It's not Starbucks. It's fruit. Fruit and dates specifically. Those are the two things you want every single day. Make a fruit smoothie with dates. More pleasure, less drama, like I said, more sleep, more relaxation. This is a time to take care of your bodies and be very aware of how you're feeling. Don't push your body when it's having a day when it's like, I can't handle this. Yeah.
Why dates?
Dates are a super source of glucose. They're very high in potassium. They actually have the ability to sweep your intestines out. So no matter what time of the day, but even especially at the end of the day. More clean water, of course, and more nature. More nature. I had a little bit later straw.
Yeah, you got 5 minutes.
Okay. So the things you don't want are less dairy, less meat, less animals, less chemicals, which animals, by the way, are all killed in fear. Mostly, if you're eating regular stuff out of the grocery store, they're killed in fear, which means their adrenaline is surging through their body. Adrenaline is poisonous for us to consume, whether it's your own because you're always stressed out and working at this high pace. Adrenaline is a poison only supposed to be used in an emergency fight or flight. If you eat the animal with the adrenaline, that adrenaline is, you're eating poison, in addition to all the chemicals, the growth hormones, all that stuff we know about already. But That's why a cat will play with a mouse when it first kills it, and it'll swat it around so that the adrenaline can slowly seep back out. Animals know how to eat their food without adrenaline. So less caffeine. Don't be relying on your caffeine. Caffeine is a drug. It makes your adrenal glands have to work so much harder, and they don't want to be working like that. They have consciousness. Our organs, our cells have consciousness. Be mindful of how much your body can handle and give it what it needs. There's plenty of great things that it needs. Less technology, as I said, less eggs. A lot of people think eggs are so great. That's actually what they raise Epstein-Barr virus on, which most everyone has in their bodies. And again, if you want to see your own personal thing, I do the eye photos. My table's down at the lunch area. And less cooked food as well, less cooked food. That has no enzymes. It's lifeless. It's a dead food. We are a living tissue, living organism. We need living, alive foods. And there's plenty of great recipes. I have this other book here with 200 recipes using food as medicine. The nervous system itself is what's going to take the hit when this electricity is going to affect your nervous system, which needs to be upgraded. The same way you get an extension cord with different wattages for how much appliances you're plugging into it, this is high wattage frequency. You need an upgraded myelin nerve sheath. There's only one thing that can do that. It is the hemp plant. The hemp plant. I'm a master herbalist. I have plenty of nervines. They don't do anything for this. The hemp plant is the single most medicinally active plant, but you have to take it in its right form, the whole entire thing, not just CBD part of it. If you're just doing CBD, that's just another drug. I do represent a company and promote that I met the doctor. They are the only ones who've actually done a study, not only to show, is it grown well, is it extracted well, organically, all that, but how much is actually being absorbed in the body. If it's not water soluble, oil and water doesn't mix. This was tested at the Mayo Clinic with all these people participating every 15 minutes. Their blood was taken. It maintained an 84 to 95% blood level for over 12 hours. And then they just cut the study off because it was made water soluble. I want to stress that. If it's an oil-based, typically only 3 to 6% is getting absorbed. You're wasting the majority of it, no matter how great it was grown and how great it was extracted. So these are those type of things. And I do have some of these with me. I have like little sample sizes if anyone's interested. You would need, one bottle of this is equal to 15 bottles of another brand just because of that water solubility thing, which is proven. I ask people all the time, do you have a test showing how much was absorbed? And they all say, no, no one does. This company does. And this is only going to get more intense. It's going to be stronger than 150.
I'm curious, are you familiar with the type of study it was? Was it double-blind cohort?
I do have the study in my notebook here, so after lunch we can look at it. But this is a preparation process we're going through. As I said, short bursts and then recovery. Short bursts and then recovery. So why? What is this preparation for? The ascension of the earth, either you're on that level or you stay on the 3D. You have a choice, 5D or 3D. There's going to be a splitting of dimensions. This is what they're calling the event, the Great Solar Flash, because our sun is also ascending, by the way. And it's not just Earth that's heating up. All the planets in our solar system are heating up. This vibrating high frequency generates heat. That's why we're heating up. That's why our hurricanes are getting stronger and stronger. And next year is predicted to be like over 200 miles per hour. So I'm getting the word, prepare to potentially not be here during next year's hurricane season. And a lot of people ask me, are you moving yet? Are you moving yet? They keep asking me every year. So far I'm staying here. I love my house. I love Sebastian. But I've been getting these things now that are saying, I looked at the Tiny House Festival yesterday in Orlando, and I've been getting messages saying, gut it, gut your house, keep what you're going to take with you, be prepared, be prepared. This year Japan had 200 mile per hour winds. It went from 165 one year to 175 with Irma to 185 with Dorian, and I mean, it's going to be 10 miles per hour next year. Related to this is just this energy, this high energy. It's not, we're not going to blame humans. Humans do pollute, no question about that, but this is different. So I'll end with this. In the Bible, listen, I tell you a mystery. We will not all sleep, but we will all be changed. It will happen in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, just like that. The last trumpet is blown, and we who are living will be transformed. Our mortal bodies must be transformed into, this is what this is referring to, the rapture, the event. The old order of things will have passed away. And the one seated on the throne said, behold, I make all things new. That's what's happening. The earth is being made new again. Pristine water, clean air, purified lands, no pollution. But not everyone is going to make this transition depending on how you live your lives. That's my opinion. There's other people saying everybody's going, but I don't know about that. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the earth had passed away, and the sea was no more. Oh, and here's those two suns I was telling you about. In Alaska, they're filming two suns all the time. They have cameras up there. There's websites that show the binary twin sun of our solar system has returned. In Caltech, of course, this gets into Planet X, which is part of that twin sun, though. It's part of that solar system that has returned. And there's photographs of that from the Hubble telescope as well. This was the last photograph the Hubble telescope took of Planet X before they shut it down. And that was like 20 years ago. It was getting too close and they shut it down. It's about 5 to 10 times larger than Earth. I'm not saying it's going to be a devastating thing, but it is affecting us with the heating up of our planets. So you are not crazy, you are not alone. Again, consider purchasing my book, Closer to the Sun, a recipe book for health for the next evolutionary phase of mankind, with over 200 recipes using food as medicine. And I have a Wild Edibles for Survival, a first aid book written in case we lose power for 2 or 3 months. And lastly, if you want to know how I've come to know this will happen in my lifetime, I can just tell you I wouldn't be here. This is the only reason I'm here, is for this event. And I've written this other book called The Diary of a Walk-In, explaining my time and connection with the Pleiadians, who are very much helping us, because this is their future. We are their future. They are our future. They are our future. They have come back into the past to fix what went wrong the first time, which is this time period we're in right now. They've come back into the past to fix so that their future, their planets don't get destroyed based on what we're doing to Earth now. So thank you for listening, and I do have a part 2, but if you want to hear the part 2, you can go to my table and sign up for that, because my time is over right now.